The film opens with a man named Steve narrating his tale. As a young boy in the 80s, he longed to enter the mines, but kids were strictly prohibited from going near them. Years later, as an adult, he quits his boring job to finally pursue his dream. When he eventually gains access to the mines, he comes across the Orb of Dominance. Upon combining it with another item, he finds himself in the overworld, a realm where he constructs a home using materials he gathers. There, he encounters a furious wolf named Dennis, who, after some bonding, becomes his faithful friend. With Dennis by his side, Steve's confidence grows, and together they create endless wonders. Life seems perfect for Steve until one day, he discovers mysterious ruins. After restoring the missing pieces, he accidentally activates a portal to another dimension, the Nether. This new world lacks joy or creativity and is home to vicious piglins, ruled by the cruel sorceress Malgosha. Once an aspiring performer, her dreams were crushed by her father and the piglins, leading her down a dark path. She steals the orb from Steve to cast eternal darkness upon the overworld, as piglins are unable to survive in light. Steve and Dennis manage to steal it back, but Steve is recaptured. He sends Dennis into the real world with the orb and crystal to keep them out of reach forever. In the present day, Garrett, known as the Garbage Man, is a former video game champ who now runs a store full of nostalgic items. Living in the past and facing eviction, he attends a storage auction held by his friend Daryl, hoping to find an Atari Cosmos console to turn things around. Instead of the console, he finds only the orb and crystal, causing him to break down in disappointment. Meanwhile, a young girl named Natalie moves to a new town called Chewglass with her brother Henry, just months after their mother passed. Henry is unhappy, having read terrible things about the town online, but Natalie explains that the rent is affordable. Natalie begins working at the local potato chip factory as their social media manager, while Henry bikes to his new school. On the way, he stops by Garrett's store and is drawn to a glowing blue crystal. Garrett tells Henry he's launching a mentorship program on how to win at life for $50 an hour. When Henry asks if it works, Garrett replies that the answer usually costs extra. Later, at school, Henry is sent to the vice principal's office, where a badge is pinned on him, welcoming him as the first new student since the school dropped in rankings. In class, the students are asked to draw bananas. Henry draws one with a rocket, which prompts two bullies to mock him. He responds confidently, saying he is a rocket scientist and promises to prove it. The next day, while demonstrating a homemade jetpack, the bullies sabotage it, causing it to crash and destroy the potato chip factory where Natalie works. The principal informs Henry that he's facing serious consequences and must call a guardian. Henry phones Garrett and convinces him to pretend to be his uncle for a payment of $26. At the store, Henry tries to figure out why his invention failed and fears he's caused his sister to lose her job. He loses all motivation for science. Then, he notices the orb and crystal again, curious about their purpose. Garrett finds a manual warning that the two should never be combined in pursuit of wealth, as danger awaits. Despite the warning, Henry places the orb inside the crystal, and it starts pulling both him and Garrett toward the mines. Meanwhile, Natalie frantically contacts Dawn, their real estate agent and a mobile petting zoo owner, after failing to find Henry. Eventually, Natalie and Dawn track Henry and Garrett to the mines, where Dennis secretly observes them. Suddenly, a portal to the overworld opens and drags them in. With the orb back in play, Malgosha and the piglins become aware of its presence, allowing Steve to escape captivity. The group is stunned by the beauty of the overworld, but as they prepare to leave, the sky darkens and hostile creatures appear, skeleton archers and zombies. Henry figures out how to build in this world and constructs a fortress to help them reach higher ground. Steve joins the fight, but amidst the chaos, Garrett accidentally destroys the Earth crystal, stranding them in overworld. As daylight returns, the monsters burn away. Steve explains that without the crystal, there's no way back, but suggests that they can replace it by traveling to the Woodland Mansion, a journey that won't be easy. Steve leads the group on their quest and shows them what overworld has to offer. They visit a village, meet its residents, and learn how easily things can be created there. Suddenly, the piglins attack, led by General Chungus. Forced to defend themselves, the group fights back, but ends up separated. Steve, Garrett, and Henry go one way, while Natalie and Dawn take another. The guys successfully escape, and Natalie and Dawn team up to fend off enemies. Along the way, they reunite with Dennis, who guides them back to the others. Back in the Nether, Chungus faces Malgosha's wrath and is executed. In response, she unleashes her greatest weapon, the monstrous Great Hog, to hunt the heroes down. Steve, Garrett, and Henry make it to a hidden cave, where Garrett urges Steve to finally show him the riches of the overworld. Steve takes him to the legendary diamond mines, but Henry becomes frustrated, realizing Garrett is the most selfish person he's ever known. Suddenly, Malgosha's monstrous creation, the Great Hog, appears to eliminate them. They make a quick escape by hopping into a mine cart, luring creepers into their path. As the creepers explode, they manage to cause a chain reaction that blows up the great hog, allowing them to escape just in time. Back in the real world, a villager known as Nitwit accidentally wanders out of the portal. He's hit by a car driven by Marlene, who is shocked by his oversized head and unusual look. Feeling guilty, she invites him to dinner. Though Nitwit can't speak English, Marlene finds him hilarious, and she unexpectedly begins to develop feelings for him. Meanwhile, Steve, Garrett, and Henry reach the woodland mansion. Steve and Garrett put on a musical performance to distract the enemies, giving Henry a chance to sneak off and find the earth crystal. Inside, he encounters an eerie Enderman, a teleporting creature that tries to mess with his head by projecting visions of Steve, Garrett, and Natalie saying cruel things to him. Meanwhile, Steve and Garrett are forced to battle a bizarre little monster riding a chicken before making their escape. Henry gathers his courage and defeats the Enderman with his sword, earning an ender pearl that allows him to teleport. As they attempt to leave, Malgosha and her army ambush them. She reclaims the orb, and chaos erupts as the piglins attack. Steve and Henry board a hot air balloon, but Garrett stays behind to hold off the piglins. The bridge is destroyed in a massive TNT explosion, and Garrett is presumed dead. The balloon is thrown off course, and Steve and Henry crash. They awaken and discover they were rescued by Natalie, Dawn, and Dennis. They're heartbroken over Garrett's apparent death, but prepare themselves for the final battle. With the orb in her possession, Malgosha casts darkness over the overworld, letting monsters roam freely without fear of sunlight. Determined to end this, the group rallies a force of iron golems and launches an assault on Malgosha and her piglins. Henry fights his way up her tower to retrieve the orb, but Malgosha unleashes her powers and sends him plummeting. Just in time, Garrett appears, alive and flying in on his hot air balloon. He saves Henry, and together the group brings down the tower. The orb is reclaimed, causing the dark creatures to crumble into dust. Malgosha tries twice more to sneak up on Steve, but fails miserably and finally meets her end. The portal to the real world is reopened. As everyone prepares to return, Steve initially decides to stay behind, believing he has no place outside the overworld. Natalie reminds him that he does have something valuable to offer the world. Inspired, Steve changes his mind and joins them. As the movie wraps up, Steve narrates what became of the heroes. With Steve's guidance, Garrett revives his store and creates a new arcade game that becomes a hit with local kids. Dawn uses Dennis and other overworld creatures to boost her petting zoo. Natalie starts a self-defense class for children, using what she learned in battle. Henry repairs his jetpack and earns respect and popularity at school. The heroes reunite for a fun celebration at Garrett's store. And that's how the movie ends. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you're a movie lover, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and keep watching. Bye.